Hey everybody, welcome to episode 87 of the Typewriter Video Series. Good day, this is Jovian Cleve, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about having seen the film, the documentary, California Typewriter. Stay tuned. I think within the typewriter aficionado community, this film had been well anticipated, and that was certainly the case with myself. I had a chance last Sunday afternoon to see the film at High Ridge Cinema here in Albuquerque, and what a great experience that was. The film runs almost 2 hours, which sounds like how can you make a documentary about typewriters almost 2 hours in length? That's got to be awful boring. Well, obviously, if you're a typewriter aficionado, a typewriter user, appreciator of that kind of technology, you really can't have too much. The film held its own, in my view, because it talked superficially, of course, about the story of this little Bay Area mom and pop repair shop called California Typewriter, and how they've been struggling, obviously, in this day and age of computers and the internet and mobile technology. But the film explores in more depth the relationship really between technology and humans. I think that's the underlying theme of the story of the film. It's not just literally about typewriters. The film certainly covers all of the major aspects of typewriters that us typewriter lovers appreciate. Their mechanical nature, the whole idea of collecting typewriters, where you go to find them, thrift stores and antique stores, what it takes to keep them running, having to frequent your local repair shop to keep them in business, and all that. The whole typosphere thing, the Richard Polt and his typewriter insurgency manifesto, and type-ins, just a lot of different aspects of typewriter culture in the 21st century. But as I indicated earlier, the movie goes deeper than that. It really is addressing the nature of technology and the life cycle of technology as it comes to an end of its primary usefulness. And we don't really see this in too many other forms of technology. You can go back to horse-drawn wagons, and you still have four-wheeled vehicles today. You can go back to the early days of the telegraph and the telephone, and we still text, and we still have telephones today. But typewriters as a technology are almost totally been supplanted by computer technology in their primary usefulness. And their life cycle went from mere curiosity in the late 19th century to the workhorse of the corporate world in the 20th century, to now relegated to the ash heap of history, supposedly. But what happened along the way there, as we well know, is that us aficionados of typewriters discovered that they have other attributes, they can serve other purposes than what they were perhaps originally intended for. I really appreciated three of the characters in this film. John Mayer, the musician, David McCullough, the writer, the late David McCullough, and the late Sam Shepard, those latter two gentlemen having just passed away this year. I appreciate what they had to say about how typewriters fit into their creative workflow. And it was reflected again and again in the film that what typewriters have to offer the creative person is a non-distractive, non-internet connected writing experience. There's a purity about it. There is a focus about it. It's you, the machine, and the piece of paper. And that was reiterated in the film quite a bit, and I really appreciated that. I was really surprised that I enjoyed and appreciated so much the part of the film that was documenting or recreating Ed Rush's typewriter road test, which was where they threw a typewriter out of a moving car and then went back and documented photographically the resulting debris on the side of the road. When I saw the trailers for the movie, I just didn't get it. I thought, oh, they're just using the whole thing of typewriters and trying to explore all aspects of it, including tearing them apart. But no, it really was paralleling. It's a work of art, that is. It's a work of performance art, certainly, and also photographic documentarianism. But it's really about, I think, the role of typewriters having been supplanted in our culture. you know, there's a symbolism about that that I think was important. I was also surprised that I really appreciated the work of sculptor Jeremy Mayer, who takes irreparable typewriters and takes them apart and uses them to make sculptures out of. And the sculptures he makes very much look like cyborgs. They look kind of robotic, very much so, because of the mechanical nature of them. And I was very surprised that I got it, but he is referencing like Karel Kopek's R.U.R., that famous old play where we get the word robot from. And he's referencing, obviously, the Maschinenmensch, the machine man character out of the film Metropolis. In fact, the clip from one of the scenes from Metropolis showing the Maschinenmensch character was used over and over again in the film, and so it's obvious that it is a symbolism at work there for the role that typewriters have been supplanted in our culture with computer technology that is now promising to become the automaton that will serve us, supposedly, in our daily needs. So I thought it was really interesting that automation, robotic, android kind of connection to his sculpture. That really worked well with the film, I thought. Another thing I thought I really liked about the movie was the comment that Tom Hanks made about typewriters, in that he said that nobody is going to make a new typewriter anymore. You're not going to want to pay $20,000 for a well-made new typewriter. I thought it was an interesting comment, and he does have a good point, because in the case of, I don't know, antique cars, you can go to a antique car catalog and you can buy enough aftermarket parts to make your own Model T Ford, because there's an aftermarket industry for antique cars, for instance. There isn't really such an industry to speak of for typewriters, so we only have a fixed number of machines out there. So that means over time, if their popularity remains or grows, the prices will go up and the availability will get a little more scarcer. Interesting thought. Although, being a photography buff, I can't help but drawing parallels with the experience of Leica camera. This is a high-end boutique kind of pricey rangefinder cameras that, you know, $7,000 for a camera body and another $3,000 or $4,000 for a lens. You're into $12,000, $13,000 for a lens and camera body. That's kind of on the same order of an artisanal made new manual typewriter. So I don't know, Tom Hanks has a point, but maybe there is a market out there for such a thing, but I certainly wouldn't be buying it myself, and probably none of you would either. All told, there were 4 people in the theater on the day that we saw the film, and that's not necessarily reflective upon the quality of the film itself as it is about the motion picture industry in America in 2017 on a Sunday afternoon in a sleepy suburban movie theater, I think, because there weren't that many other moviegoers in the theater on the other screens either. Also, though, this film is a documentary, it's marketed as a documentary, but it's really more than that. It's not really just documenting typewriters. That's not really what the film is about. And when you go to the film, you need to keep that in mind. It is really using typewriters as a vehicle for discussing really the role of technology and the tools that we make as a tool-making species. That's really what it is about. It is about our relationship with our own tools. Have the tools that we created, are they becoming the master? Do they serve us well? Do we find ourselves, when we're interacting with our latest mobile device, do we find ourselves serving the device, or is the device, its haptics and usability, serving our needs? And we're really reminded of this more so when we compare mobile technology with these focused, one-purpose, single-purpose devices like typewriters. The contrast becomes much more glaring when you sit down in front of a typewriter, especially for a person who perhaps has never used one or hasn't used one in a long time. You'll find the differences are striking. And so I find that is really what this film is about. I wrote a blog article a few days ago about my recollections on this film, and what I said in the blog article I think I'll repeat here, and that is the parallel of California Typewriter as a film is to the Eagles song Hotel California. Hotel California is not about the West Coast hotel and lodging industry. It is using as a metaphor. The Hotel California is a metaphor for something deeper. Maybe it's the popular music, rock music culture of the 1970s in that case. Or to draw another analogy would be the seminal album by Pink Floyd, The Wall. The Wall is not about masonry and bricklaying. It is about the inner boundaries and walls that we erect in our own lives because of trauma and other issues. So in a similar light, California Typewriter, superficially it's about typewriters, but really the movie is about our relationship with our technology that we've created. And I hope you guys have a chance to see it. I know it's on a limited release, but if it does come to your town, you should see it. If not, wait until it gets on online distribution. And now let's go on a little short field trip out to the garage, shall we? Well, some of you might recall that, it's been close to 2 months, and I took this Royal Model 10 typewriter from my aunt in Colorado Springs with ostensibly for the purpose of replacing the ribbon and looking at some mechanical issues it had. It had a ribbon feed problem, ribbon reversing problem. That problem I thought I fixed. It might still be here, but at least you can reverse it manually if you want. But the bigger problem was the spacing issue on the escapement. And I think I have it fixed. So I've been doing a whole bunch of test typing today, including this little stream of consciousness bit, and also a letter I subsequently wrote to a friend. But all the spacing issues are resolved in this machine. Let me see if I can describe for you what I did. Okay, so this set screw and nut in the back of the machine right here, I had to loosen the set screw and drive the nut in further, which means that this arm right here of the escapement is going to get tripped sooner, and it will operate the escapement even sooner. And then the second thing I had to do was this set screw right here operates or controls the timing of the escapement, the loose dog, how soon it trips off of the tooth of the star wheel, and I had to adjust that to get the escapement to be a little more snappy. And those were the two changes I made in order to get the spacing issue resolved on this typewriter. So now it seems like, regardless of how staccato or irregular of a typing rhythm I use, I can still get good type without any weird spaces between the letters. And so I think I have that problem fixed. And so now I need to arrange to make a little short, couple-day trip back up to Colorado Springs and deliver this typewriter back to my aunt and get my little Olympia SF back from her as a loaner. And so that's about it for today's episode. I thought it was important to discuss in this series, this film, California Typewriter, because it is a seminal film for the typewriter subculture, as it not only speaks of typewriters, but it really addresses the subculture that we know and love as the typosphere. Also, the little point about getting my aunt's typewriter fixed up raises the other issue that if you are a typewriter lover and have a small or large collection of typewriters, you'll find it practical to have to learn to service your typewriter yourself, as I am learning. Although you might still want to find yourself drawing upon the services of a professional shop if you need to, and if you have the availability of one in your area. I am blessed with a typewriter repair shop in my area, but I try still to do as much of the work as I can myself, just for the sake of economy. So going forward as hobbyists with typewriters, we do need to keep learning how to work on our machines and keep that fleet of typewriters humming. And I hope your typewriters are also working fine and that you are continuing to write and create. And until next time, you guys have yourselves a great day.